Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wonderkamer. This is your podcast in which three dilettantes will pull something out of the cabinet of curiosities and share it with you, our audience. My name is Jen Rumpel and I'm here with
Dave Powell
and
Tracy Anderson Powell.
And we are your dilettantes today. Today, Tracy is going to be opening up a little door of the Wonderkamer and going to tell us a tale of happiness. What's it going to be, Tracy?
It's more of an adventure.
Oh, an adventure tale.
We're going to open the garage door to adventure.
Hell yeah.
That's what happens when you actually clean out your garage, which I have never done. I don't have one anymore, but when I had it, it was a sty, and I stood by that.
I cleaned that garage.
You're opening the door to adventure or hantavirus risk, so do be careful when you're opening your garage doors or your Wonderkamer doors. If there's droppings in there, use bleach. Public service announcement.
Fun fact, deer mice, not related to mice.
Not related to deer either.
No, they're their own thing.
Damn. Really?
I mean,
No clue.
They are related to mice in the same way that all animals are related to one another, but they're not like a different kind of mouse. They're a mouse-looking critter.
I literally had no idea. That's going to be my next episode. Maybe. Actually, we could probably talk about mice and rats in Canada. That would be a good episode. But I think today we're talking about a little bit something a little bit different today, hey?
Something a little different.
Yeah? What do we got?
So anyone who knows me knows that I love cars. I'm never happier than when I'm behind the wheel. And what's the best part about driving? Long road trips.
Woo!
Give me a full tank of gas and an endless ribbon of highway, and I am set.
Road trip. I used to be that way, but now I'm like, my old back. Can't do those drives. We're Canadians, so we do have to get used to those drives, though, I have to say. So you're lucky you do enjoy it.
Tracy's happy place is finding any excuse to go on to drive for like minimum an hour.
Yes.
All right. Good to know.
I'm
also
happy to
a
measure
very good
things in
driver.
hours.
Yeah, I'll shout out Tracy as the best driver I know.
Nice.
Thank you. So today we're talking about a couple of road trips. Not just any road trips. No, these are the ultimate road trips. One across the Sahara Desert and one from Algeria to Madagascar in cars with Caterpillar tracks for rear wheels. We're going back to the early days of the motor vehicle and not long after Frenchman André Citroën started his own car company in 1919 called Citroën, funnily enough.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's French for Johnny Lemon.
I was going to say.
There is a story behind the name, but I'll get into that in maybe another podcast. I can do one more about André Citroën himself. So our story starts in 1903 when Frenchman Adolphe Quigrest arrived in Russia. He had a job as a mechanic in St. Petersburg working for the railway company. Then, one winter day, he was working on the tracks when the Imperial train carrying Tsar Nicholas II became stuck on a turntable that was blocked by ice. He stepped in and was able to unblock the switch, an action that was spotted by a member of the Tsar's entourage. Quigrest then found himself employed as a mechanic in the royal garage.
Oh, well, that's nice. Although Tsar Nicholas getting blocked by ice immediately made me think that someone was trying to deport him.
Yeah. I was stuck on the turntable. Like, I can't do the DJ noise, but I'm like, turntable, fuck yeah.
Just gotta rub your fingernails on your jeans. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I say is a great insult to decades of turntablists.
Oh, yes.
So fast forward 2 years. Tsar Nicholas II had many problems in 1905.
I'm like, no shit. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Yeah, just a little.
He was a weak ruler to begin with. His heir had hemophilia. There was the Russo-Japanese War. Peaceful demonstrators were shot during the Bloody Sunday Massacre. The people of Russia dipped their toes into the pool that was revolution, and the country became a constitutional monarchy. It was also the year that Nicholas and his wife, the Tsarina Alexandra, first made the acquaintance of the Siberian mystic, Rasputin. Motor vehicles should have only been a minor concern.
I was just going to say, and on top of it all, she's sleeping with that dang Rasputin. Rasputin. But no, that's still contentious.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe. Doesn't really matter.
It could have been slander because she was a woman, but also who knows?
Well, I honestly, not to go on a Rasputin digression, but I think anybody who had like this weird Russian mystic who is a legendary sex addict slinging a hog in a way that will live throughout the centuries, I think anybody who's really close to him, they're going to guess that they're sleeping together because that's who he was.
Because he slept with everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I, in fact, fucked Rasputin, and it was awkward, selfish lover, and he did not bathe.
No, I would imagine so. He'd smell of vodka too, pretty bad. Not bathing, lots of hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Dave.
Every venereal disease. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Tracy.
And it didn't kill him, so maybe some of that invincibility powers.
The reason
he's still alive after all.
The reason he was so unkillable is the Mr. Burns phenomenon, where he had every single kind of venereal disease possible, or STI, I believe is the more appropriate term now. But when all of them come together, and you've got gonorrhea, syphilis, he had AIDS. I don't know how you have AIDS in the 1910s, but there you go. And all of them together make him invincible because they just like all crowd through the door at once. Anyways, this is about cars.
Right.
Yes.
I know.
Just slightly off track.
But we love it. We're dilettantes. This is what we do. We love the digression.
Keegrass attached skis to the front axle and created detachable, lightweight, caterpillar-like tracks to replace the rear wheels of a car. These weren't like tank tracks, which had already been invented and used heavy hinged metal plates. These tracks functioned like a moving railway track, constantly unrolling under the vehicle, described as endless rubber bands running on sprung bogies pivoting from the rear axle.
Oh, that's a contraption.
Yes.
Yep. Especially with the word like bogey in there. You gotta get those bogies.
God, we used to be a real country. I say about a car that is in Europe and Russia, which is sort of Europe.
Russia used to be a real Soviet Union, damn it.
According to Wikipedia, a bogie can be found on both train cars and tractor trailers and, quote, comprises two or more wheel sets, two wheels on an axle, in a frame attached under a vehicle by a pivot. It allows for stable running on both straight and curved track. And a sprung bogie is the same thing, using springs to support the vehicle's weight, absorb shocks, and improve ride quality.
So far, so good.
The tracks provided grip to support and carry a loaded vehicle over soft snow or sand, rocky cratered surfaces, mountainous terrain, and boggy land. In Keegrass's words, the vehicles could, quote, travel at all speeds, either over deep snow or ice, or roads covered with lightly packed snow, or on dry and stony roads, and then leave the road and proceed to travel across country without stopping or slowing down, end quote.
This is 1903?
This is later than that now.
Oh, sorry, 1905.
Yeah, this is closer to 1910.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, because this is coming out of him in 1905, getting associated with the Tsar, and then working in all this fancy engineer stuff, thus this vehicle coming out from it.
Yeah.
Got it.
He made the vehicle suit the ground instead of the usual way, so far, of trying to make the ground suit the vehicle.
That's a great turn of phrase.
In 1913, the system Keegrass was perfected and patents were filed in both France and Russia. Although Keegrass developed the system, he didn't invent it. That was done by an American man in Maine in the 1890s, who used his half-track for hauling logs. The first logging truck.
Why don't we have half tracks all over the place here? We've got like the ATVs or quads, but God, half tracks out on the trails. They'd probably tear up the dirt, but and destroy our pristine boreal. But those would be fun.
I don't see why they can't still use them for logging, for getting in and out of tight place. Well, they've probably got better equipment now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's a reason why they don't use them for logging.
It's like a little pseudo tank, though. They're so cool.
Yeah, that does sound very cool.
Keegrass served with the Russian army when war broke out in 1914. At the start of the Russian Revolution in 1917, Keegrass found himself, understandably, without a job. He first went to Finland, but decided that it really wasn't for him, so he returned to Paris, arriving in 1920. He met André Citroën there at a demonstration of 3 vehicles fitted with the caterpillar-like tracks. Citroën immediately recognized the potential of this system. There was no such thing as four-wheel drive utility vehicles yet, and agricultural tractors were still in their early days, so Citroën seized the moment and acquired sole rights to the Keegrass system. He set up a new company to provide Kegres the necessary funds and facilities to manufacture a wide range of vehicles. These new vehicles were classified as light tractors and marketed as a replacement for the cart horse. They found immediate commercial success, being employed in civilian and military roles. Through the 1920s and 30s, they were used throughout Europe for farming and forestry. Militaries of France, Belgium, Poland, and Great Britain bought and used them. Surviving examples were prized by Germany during World War II, and any that were found were repaired, reconditioned, and sent to the Russian front.
Remember these assholes? Oh, wait, I'm saying that on behalf of the Nazis. Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm like, That's what their attitude would have been.
It's like how they just realized that the Victims of Communism Memorial in Ottawa was covered in the names of Nazis.
Ooh.
I mean...
So they just, removed a ton of it. So you got this blank Victims of Communism Memorial. It's so good.
That's actually better, because, it seems like a good system then. It's empty. Well, yeah. If only it gets rid of fascists. Anyway.
Among other things, André Citroën was a master of publicity. He organized a series of demonstrations and exhibitions to show off the car's cross-country abilities. The first of these was a snow trial held in the Alps. Then, in September 1921, 3 of the half-track cars traveled from Paris to Arcachon on the Atlantic coast of France. One of them pulled a 3.5-ton caravan that looked like a 2-story house, and as far as I can tell, was a 2-story house.
Good Lord.
These
things are cool. I want one.
Yeah, this is actually pretty neat, and it actually worked. Can you imagine a product that actually works?
Right?
No, we don't have those anymore.
No.
At the nearby Pilat sand dune, which is the highest one in Europe, the cars were put through various tests and experiments. It all culminated in an assault on the summit, 344 feet above sea level. The cars had no problems, even with the steep gradient of the dune.
Wow, steep sand dunes.
And it had no problems.
They're climbing up.
Perfect thing to take to the beach.
Sounds fun.
Love it. So these half tracks are just kicking ass.
In the first week of July 1922, a demonstration was held in England for influential British journalists and important potential civilian and military customers. The event was staged at a former military transport depot in Slough, 20 miles or 32 kilometers west of London, known locally as The Dump. The location, not Slough.
I was about to say, it's Slough, which is one of those places in England that is apparently just as lovely as its name.
I have no idea if Slough is a dump, but the name is probably not a good indication. But it could be a lovely little place. Dump. I don't know.
Isn't there a whole poem about how Slough sucks?
Yeah, I'm sure there's multiple. Some places are so shitty they can only be described with a poet.
I'm trying to give Slough the benefit of the doubt here.
I am not. You know what? If you're from Slough, we don't want you.
Aww.
The UK, no, I don't give them the benefit of that. They've run out. They've committed too many crimes against humanity. No more benefit of the doubt for the UK. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's thankfully in Canada, our government have never committed crimes of any kind.
No, perfect. Oh
yeah,
yes,
that's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Canada. Yeah, we're just nice. Yeah,
I'm kidding, Slough. We love you. This podcast is one of the nice few gifts you can have in your home.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, scrapped army vehicles were collected there for reconditioning and rebuilding after World War I. It provided an excellent obstacle course. In heavy rain, 2 cars went up and down slippery banks of a gravel pit where the gradient exceeded 45 degrees in some places. A tow rope was attached to a pair of railway wagons that were filled with people and pulled them, starting from a stop. The car ran alongside the tracks through a plowed field with no trouble.
So they're just doing feats of strength.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
What?
I was getting worried there when you mentioned there were passengers. I'm like, oh no.
This could all go very badly.
Mm-hmm.
Later, both cars went from London to Cambridge and back, a round trip of 108 miles or 174 kilometers. They averaged 21 miles per hour, 34 kilometers per hour, and still showed no signs of having any trouble. The demonstration.
So do you know what terrain are they? Sorry, are they going off-road then?
I think they were on the road at that point.
Okay.
The demonstrations went well, and the British subsidiary Citroën Kegres Limited was established in London. One of the founders was British military vehicle expert Major General Sir Ernest Swinton. Swinton was a British Army officer who played a significant role in the development of the tank during World War I. He became an ally of André Citroën and proved invaluable to him in the world of Britain and the Commonwealth. He had plenty of high-level connections in Whitehall and Westminster and used them in his work behind the scenes for the coming Citroën expeditions. Over the next 10 years, 200 vehicles were sold on the British civilian market, and 8 examples were provided for the British military for use as battery staff cars in the Royal Artillery in 1924 to 26.
Sounds like he's doing well. Successful product.
Is this all just one car that Citroën is selling, or is this a array of models? Or
there are different. It's not an array of models, but updated versions come out.
Got it. And are they all variations on the single half-track car?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
From his time as a logistics specialist in the Army during World War I, Citroën understood the cross-country limitations of conventional wheeled motor vehicles. The first time he saw a vehicle with caterpillar tracks go over sand, he understood exactly what he was looking at, and it appealed to him as an engineer, an industrialist, and a motor vehicle manufacturer. He was also aware of a wider long-term strategic significance to the French economy. He did, but I actually don't. I try not to get too bogged down with the economy.
Yeah, not necessarily our métier here.
With a vehicle that didn't need roads, it could open new military and trade routes in the colonial territories of Asia and Africa.
Oh.
Yay.
Citroën just needed to prove it by crossing the Sahara by motor vehicle.
So he's the first one to do a Top Gear challenge.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of too. I'm like, this sounds like Top Gear.
I was, and unlike Jeremy Clarkson, I think André Citroën is the only automotive manufacturer ever who's not a fascist.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Really?
Yeah. No, he's just, he was Jewish and like as left-wing as you get when you're a business mogul in the 20s.
Yeah, check
Right.
the story of Louis Renault. That guy was a fascist.
They're Henry
Right.
Ford.
I
They're
mean, Ford, yeah.
yeah.
Auto tycoons are fascist. It's a rule.
Yeah.
Which is why anybody who likes watching an old Top Gear episode should never listen to a single opinion Jeremy Clarkson has shared outside of that TV show. Because, my God.
I agree.
So cars are fascist, so are guys. They're fascist technology.
But there's
Oh, they're a
I'm just
capitalist.
kidding.
They're a capitalist
I mean-
technology.
They are,
Yeah.
yeah. It's about
Anyways,
atomization.
but yeah, car bad, but car also cool at the same time. We can contain
Car
multitudes.
fun.
I know. That is the struggle.
Yeah.
car useful.
So anyway, Citroën is, oh God, I was going to do a Jeremy Clarkson voice with a French accent. I can't. I just can't. How hard can it be in a French accent? But
I can't even imagine.
put it in your head there.
Since the French colonization of North Africa in the 1880s, there were major issues in establishing communications and maintaining military and political control over the vast Sahara. It was big, it was wide, it was a desert, and it made a lot of things very difficult.
It's like, yeah, this is what we gotta do. You know, I mean, I guess it's the hardest possible test, but I don't know. Can you go a bit smaller?
In 1912, when Niger was annexed, the establishment of a land route from the Mediterranean down through the desert to French equatorial Africa, then across the interior to Madagascar, became a priority. The arrival of transport aircraft ended the age-old reliance on the slow-moving camel trains, but there were still logistical problems. Staging posts had to be constructed that had a place for planes to land, repair facilities, fuel and water, and radio stations. A route that could be used by motor vehicles was an important and unavoidable step forward in the civilization of French Africa.
You do not see Tracy's giant air quotes at the word civilization, but aside from the horrific crimes against humanity committed here, the logistics of it are Niger's landlocked, right? It's and it's in the Sahel. There's a hell of a lot of desert there, and just broadly not a particularly accessible place to get to, let alone when you get down into the holdings in the in the rainforest. And then so basically they're trying to strike a line from Algeria down to West Africa and then through to Madagascar.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild, yeah.
The issue of a ground route through the desert became suddenly more serious when a plane carrying the regional military commander, General Laperrine, flying between Algiers and Timbuktu, was blown off course during a sandstorm and crashed in the desert. A column of conventional motor vehicles set out to rescue the survivors, but the terrain was too difficult for them. Every one of the vehicles met with either an accident or they broke down. The general, who was injured in the crash, died of thirst after 15 days in temperatures upwards of 123 Fahrenheit or 50 degrees Celsius.
Oh God! Just get out of there! You're not supposed to be there. It's
There's
telling
people
you.
living there. They're doing fine. Leave them alone. Christ.
Exactly. Like, white folks are not supposed to be there. Get out.
We are not made for that.
No. And it's like, nobody asked.
Yep.
That's true.
Nobody asked them. Just get out.
General Laperine had made the first attempt to organize a crossing of the Sahara by motor vehicle. In 1916, Commandant Bedembourg attempted his own journey on an old camel route between two oases. They covered 200 of the 2,000 miles between Touggourt, Algeria, and Timbuktu, the city of salt on the Niger River, in what was then French Sudan and is now Mali.
200 miles. I assume that could be a story in itself. Doomed expedition.
Only one vehicle made it through undamaged. It took 20 days for them to go 470 miles, or 750 kilometers. Most of that time was spent trying to dig the vehicles out of sand. It worked out to be no faster than the camel trains it sought to replace.
No way!
I am not surprised.
The indigenous method of travel that's been used for thousands of years is actually better.
By 1920, General Laperine had directed 3 unsuccessful expeditions through the Sahara. The Sahara, as he learned, was not just sand. There were also several mountain ranges that had to be crossed. And on top of that, the temperatures ranged between extremes, boiling the car's radiator dry during the day and freezing it solid by night. But
Look, you're basically on Mars.
Yeah, you're so interior as well that and again, rain isn't getting to the Sahara for various different reasons. And in that part of the Sahara, there's nothing that'll regulate. So you're just pinging-ponging between extreme temperatures.
So these events created much public interest in France, and it got André Citroën's publicist side thinking about his half-track cars and the trek across the desert. Quote, "The first idea of a trans-Saharan raid was born during the war," André said, which proved how necessary were the resources of our equatorial African territories to the metropolis, not only in men, but in supplies of all sorts, from the oil products of Senegal to the rubber of Guinea and the Congo. It showed that this wealth could not achieve its real value until the Bloc Africain was realized by the establishment of rapid, safe, and permanent communications between our various possessions on the Black Continent.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
And
so it is not beating the fascist technology rap.
Nope.
The motor vehicle.
Now, again, this is
It's
just
enabling.
capitalism. All colonialism is exploitation. All capitalism is exploitation. And the problem is they can't exploit efficiently.
That's right. Gonna solve that with technology. Mm-hmm.
Despite the romance and adventure of the mission, it was first an industrial venture using industrial and logistical techniques. In the winter of 1921-22, several of the Caterpillar cars were sent to Algeria to look over and plan routes for the expedition. In charge of this run was a short, rotund, and robust Louis Audouin Dubray, who could easily be an episode on his own. Louis grew up in a well-off, deeply religious conservative home. At the age of 20, he was recruited into the cavalry for his mandatory 3 years of service and performed his duties with much enthusiasm. When war broke out in 1914, he returned to service and fought in the Battle of the Marne, among others. He was awarded a Croix de Guerre and was appointed lieutenant in 1916. When the cavalry was dissolved, he moved to aviation and obtained his pilot's license in 1917 and was sent to Tunisia. He fell in love with the country and said, "It would now be impossible for me to live fully and happy elsewhere." Wherever he went, he always returned to his little home in Zarzas. At the age of 35 and a veteran of Laperine's ventures, Louis had a lot of knowledge about the area. He loved the desert, and even in his 60s, he was out exploring solo in his Citroën 2CV. André Citroën proved himself to be a good patron and had a knack for always picking the right man for the job. He inspired both enthusiasm and loyalty, but the expeditions were never under his direct control. Enter Georges-Marie Hart. The opposite of Louis Audouin Dubray, he was the lean and lanky sang-froid leader of the Trans-Siberian... Why do I keep saying Siberian? The Trans-Saharan expedition.
It's so easy to say.
Because we want to say Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Trans-Siberian Railway, right?
Yeah, I want to say
buried
railway.
in our brain.
He had been a trusted colleague of André's for the last 15 years. General Swinton described Hart as physically a fine specimen of unusual height with great personal charm. Hart was an Anglophile who spoke English extremely well and was always dressed immaculately. He was fastidious, fashionable, and artistic.
Sounds like a dilettante. I'm picturing like a 17th century fancy boy. That's right.
The expedition, also referred to as the Raid, was to be the first ever conducted under the unforgiving eyes of the world's press. Failure was not an option, with the prestige of the company at stake. Also because lives would be at risk in the desert. Regular news bulletins hit the newspapers as soon as the radio and telegraph reports came in. The entire journey was recorded on film for showing in cinema newsreels.
Really?
Meticulous testing, preparations, and rehearsals were carried out, leading to modifications to the design, construction, and the equipment of the vehicles. And in autumn 1922, everything was ready to go. 15 of the Caterpillar cars were shipped to and assembled in Africa. 5 of them would go all the way across the desert to Timbuktu and back. The other 10 would be supply vehicles that only went part way. The plan was to make the 2,000-mile, or 3,200-kilometer, trip in 22 days.
Damn. Considering how long everything else had taken to date. I'm just showing one of those images the press put together of the expedition.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and that gives a good sense of what the vehicles look like. So they do have the wheels on the front and the Caterpillars on the back, yes.
Yeah, that's the half track.
Okay, yeah, I was picturing that, but yeah, okay.
Because you can steer with the front, and then you get this tank track in the back.
It's pretty cute. Little buggy-eyed headlights there.
I want one.
There is apparently one at one point, there was one in a museum in Saskatoon, which I would like to go see if it's still there.
Yeah.
Be a bit of a road trip.
We can modify our Ford Ranger.
Yes, we could do
Excellent.
that.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Ranger danger, baby.
At daybreak on December 17th, 1922, 10 men in 5 half-track cars left Touggourt, southeast of Algiers. The vehicles were painted white to reflect the heat of the sun, literally, not metaphorically. Each car had a brightly colored Egyptian symbol. The golden scarab was the command vehicle, which Hart rode in. Then came the silver crescent with Louis Audouin Dubray, carrying the film equipment, and the expedition's official cinematographer, Paul Castelnau, was the flying tortoise. Fourth was the Apis bull with Adjutant Chapuis, an officer in the French colonial forces serving as the expedition's guide and interpreter. And finally, the crawling Caterpillar, carrying George Estienne, the son of General Estienne, the French tank and armored car pioneer, the French equivalent of Britain's General Swinton.
This does sound fun. Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'd get in on that expedition.
No, I mean, this sounds awesome, right?
Sounds
ignoring
fun.
all the colonial exploitation problems, which are, let's take these exciting new machines and try to do something nobody's done before, which is a genuinely successful expedition across the Sahara.
Yeah.
Like one of the most inhospitable places on the planet, which is really full of mountains. People don't get that because you just kind of see this, you look at a map, you just see like orangish yellow desert as this big block, but it is quite mountainous.
And they brought with them their own mascot, Hart's terrier Flossie, who is the role for Milou in Tintin comics.
Really?
Aww.
Yeah.
Aw, they even brought a little dog who I really hope survives. Although I think if the dog didn't survive, Tracy wouldn't tell the story. We'll see.
Okay.
I would have definitely left out the part about the dog if the dog didn't make it.
I know how you work.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no! My next episode. Unfortunately, I don't skip dog harm.
Well, at least we know in advance.
Yeah, thank you for the
content warning.
Weeks in advance content warning.
Okay. Just keep it in mind when you come down to mine in a couple weeks.
All 5 vehicles had 2 tons of stores, a reservoir of 8 gallons of drinking water, a fuel tank with 50 gallons of gasoline, and a collapsible tent attached to its bodywork for shelter at night. They also carried rifles and ammunition, just in case, and 3 of the cars were armed with heavy machine guns mounted in visible positions to deter would-be robbers.
I appreciate the giant machine guns that they have. Is like, no, you don't want to mess with this.
Yeah.
We've got gun cars.
Yeah, I'd probably stay away.
Yeah, I would. The group started at 5 a.m., stopped for lunch around midday, then pushed on until 10 p.m. At night, the cars were drawn into a circle around the campfire with guns pointing out.
I don't know. This is just hilarious to me. I don't know why. I'm picturing an old wagon train where they're circling the campfire and all paranoid and just like these little stubby cars.
Yeah, exactly.
All cozy.
If you are driving through certain parts of the world, I don't know what the conditions were in. This is probably going to be like southern Algeria into like oh God, I get confused about the map. But either way, the people who are out there and see large amounts of wealth are probably going to want to take it, because I certainly
Yeah, you know,
But
nobody
you see
asked
large
them.
amounts of machine guns guarding that wealth, suddenly, your risk calculation changes a bit.
Mm-hmm.
In 4 days, they reached the fort of Insala, marking the end of the first leg. They covered 600 miles, or 965 kilometers, at an average speed of 20 miles per hour, or 32 kilometers per hour, 10 times the speed of a camel train. They
Damn.
stayed at the
Not bad.
fort to rest for 2 days.
So where are they again?
Right now, they are somewhere in the Sahara.
Oh, fair.
I can't be any more specific than that.
That's totally fine, unless there's like some handy map of with dates and places. We'll just use the theater of the mind.
Yes. The next leg was through the mountainous Hoggar region of the desert of unquenchable thirst.
Jesus.
Oh, sounds fine. Probably don't get too thirsty there.
What Return to Oz shit is that?
There would be no well or oasis for the 300 miles, 480 kilometers in any direction, and with no path to follow, they navigated by sextant and compass. In his diary, Hart noted that the path was strewn with the skeletons of camels.
Is that bad?
Jesus. In the desert of unquenchable thirst.
Yes.
What is dead camels known for being able to store water in their backs?
Yeah, that is not a good sign.
Fun science fact. Although it was originally considered a myth that camels store water in the back because they actually store fat, fat converts to water chemically really efficiently, and that's why they store fat there. So they do store water in their back. It's just in a roundabout way.
Oh.
Fascinating. I did not know that. And I was just thinking, don't know if that's true or not. Thanks, Dave.
There you go. And also to clarify, deer mice are considered New World mice, but they're not closely related to the classic house mouse or rat, Old World mice. They're their own thing and evolved separately. That's what makes them magic. Anyways, enough biology facts. I will be doing an evolution episode eventually.
Excellent.
Because we haven't covered any science.
No.
On New Year's Eve, the party arrived at Tinzoutin in French Sudan, now Mali, on the border of Algeria, 1,250 miles or 2,000 kilometers from where they started. They had champagne around the campfire, then carried on as usual the next day.
My parents have been to Mali.
Really?
Yeah, took a bus up through Ghana into a bit of Niger, Burkina Faso, and into Mali.
And a bit of the unquenchable thirst desert,
they might have done a little bit of time there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll have to check with your mom.
Hey, Mom, have you ever been to the desert of unquenchable thirst? Yes, I kidnapped a goose there from a casino. What? These are the sort of stories my mom tells. She is delightful. When we eventually do guests, she will be on this podcast.
Excellent.
On the 4th of January, they reached Fort Borem on the banks of the Niger River and followed the river across the savanna lands of French Sudan. 2 days later, they arrived at the gates of Timbuktu, welcomed by huge crowds. The crowds pressed in to surround the cars, the applause tumultuous.
That's cool.
I can imagine. And people survived. Cars were not lost in the desert.
No, everything went according to plan.
Awesome. And they're in Timbuktu at this point. Okay.
Yes. The next morning, on the 7th of January, 1923, 20 days out of Touggourt, the cars entered the gates of Timbuktu. For hundreds of years, until 1893, when conquered by the French, the ancient city had been forbidden to Europeans on pain of death. There was a short ceremony for the adventurers in the... Sorry?
I said, oh, that's fair.
There was a short ceremony for the adventurers in the city's great central square, which the French had recently renamed Place Joffre, and were formally received by the French colonial governor. Hart presented the first mail delivered across the Sahara from the mother country, inaugurating what was to be a regular postal service. Speaking on behalf of the Minister of State for Posts and Telegraphs, Hart said, "As the result of our efforts, we hope to see a revival of the old caravan routes which long ago linked Algeria and Tunisia with the Niger River, even in the times of Charlemagne." Next, the leaders of the expedition reported back to André Citroën at the company's headquarters at Quai de Javel in Paris. The reply from André read, At this moment of your reaching the Pearl of the Niger, having accomplished by your superhuman efforts the work of the Titans towards the cause of humanity and the triumph of French industry, may I greet your arrival and express from the bottom of my heart the joy that I feel as a result of your achievement.
Aw, I wish someone had sent me a letter that nice.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dave, maybe you should drive across the desert then.
Nonsense. I'm starting a podcast so I can get those kinds of accolades. And by accolades, I mean abuse.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, more abuse, but less thirst, so
Yeah.
trade-offs.
Yeah.
Well, at least not that kind of thirst.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
The party spent 3 weeks in Timbuktu for rest and recuperation. They filled their time with filming and photographing the city, hunting game nearby, and overhauling their cars for the journey. On January 26th, they were off again, following the same path back to Touggourt, where they would meet up with André himself. Initially, the leaders went ahead to Borum, where the supply vehicles were waiting to refuel them. They reunited on the 10th of February 1923, and the crew set off northwards. They made their usual pace of 120 miles, or 200 kilometers, per day, traveling at about 20 miles per hour, or 32 kilometers per hour.
Seems slow to us, but at the time was pretty good.
By the 16th of February, they were back in the heart of the Tannas Rooft. This time of year, the daily temperature was at its most extreme. During the day, the heat melted the grease in the rollers of the tracks, and at night the men froze. There was no wood for them to gather to build a fire. On the 21st of February, they were stopped by 2 men on camels who said other Caterpillar cars were spotted at the oasis the previous day. There was said to be a white woman with them. Hart knew this to be André's party, and the woman was his wife. Madame Citroën was a fearless traveler who would not have hesitated to join the party.
Oh, that's interesting. Did not know about her.
Yeah, she seems like she was pretty cool. At 11 a.m. on the 24th of February, both groups finally met up. André had thought of everything for this moment, right down to bringing mail from France and plenty of champagne.
Attaboy.
How did that survive the heat?
Yeah, warm champagne sounds... Ugh. Although I guess,
well, I guess you gotta do what you can.
If you had it at 3 a.m. after everything had cooled off, maybe it was a little better. Quick, everybody wake up and drink your champagne.
Yeah.
Nice and chilled. Mm-hmm.
On the 26th of February, they arrived back at the fort of Insala, which was decorated with French flags for the occasion. John Reynolds writes, quote, surrounded by cavalry and camelry adorned with the finest ceremonial costumes and regalia, the 7 Caterpillar cars advanced through the gates in parade order to be greeted by the military commander-in-chief of the region, acting on behalf of the Governor-General of Algeria. So this was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The following day, André was summoned back to Paris, so he and his wife left immediately. Hart and his group went to Ouargla, Ouargla.
Let's think about that.
I'll trust your pronunciation on that one.
Yeah. They arrived on the 5th of March, greeted by fanfare and 500 men on camels.
I don't know what noise camels make.
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
Just a couple octaves lower.
On March 7th, they arrived back at their starting point in Touggourt. In 12 weeks, they covered 4,300 miles, or 7,000 kilometers, over 40 days of travel. It showed that a Caterpillar car could cover 3,000 miles, 4,800 kilometers, in the amount of time it took a camel to do 100 miles, or 160 kilometers.
Okay. Man versus machine. No. Machine versus beast.
Yeah.
Machine wins.
Back in Paris, André Citroën had imagined a package holiday to Africa transported by his Caterpillar cars. He was thinking of a 24-day tour to Timbuktu. He ordered the inauguration of the company Transafricain Citroën and started planning. He planned out everything and got it all together for departure on the 6th of January, 1925.
So we're now talking about like tourist trips through here to Timbuktu.
Yes. Now that they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
André himself, though, canceled the trip on January 2nd. There were reports of a, quote, resumption of warlike activity among dissident tribesmen, end quote. Military authorities said they could not guarantee their safety and declined all responsibility if something should happen. The French government then withdrew their permission.
What on earth could they be dissident about? It's a mystery. They're just kind of like that.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It was a humiliating failure, and André Citroën lost a small fortune. He abandoned the project, liquidated the company, and disposed of the vehicles. Later, he learned there had been no disturbances of any kind. The whole thing had been invented.
Really?
Louis Renault, who was known to dislike André and referred to him as the little Jew of Javel, was considered the prime suspect.
Renault is such a
This is
piece of
just
shit.
this industrial sabotage,
Yeah.
in a way. Not necessarily. It's sabotaging their promotion and if it caused him to scuttle the entire thing,
André refused to discuss the affair for the rest of his life.
Damn.
A few months later, Renault announced their plans for a similar holiday expedition using six-wheeled vehicles. There would be no official obstacles.
Right. So they just had more in with the French government, yes?
Yeah, so everything worked out great for Louis Renault.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until the end of the war, but that's a different story.
Well, hopefully he's dead.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm sure he's dead by now, but I mean...
Yeah, he didn't survive
hopefully
long
he
after the
was
war.
executed for his crime.
André Citroën had other ideas for an expedition, something more sensational than simply crossing the Sahara. He was now looking at a 12,500 mile or 20,000 kilometer coast-to-coast crossing of Africa by Caterpillar cars. He called it the Citroën Central African Expedition, but it was popularly known as Le Croisière Noire, the Black Cruise.
Doesn't sound promising.
No,
Well, it was one of those things it's odd because I think calling Africa the Black Continent and the Dark Continent and all that was not actually a race thing, although I'm sure people dug in on the double meanings there.
It's like
it was
cartography.
It's just that the interior was not mapped by Europeans very well because it was so dense.
The expedition was staffed and equipped as a scientific expedition, looking at things like geology, meteorology, zoology, ethnology, anthropology, geography, and cartography. They would
so this is
the Voyage of the Beagle, but on cars.
I was about to say it's like a 19th century voyage where you throw in a bunch of like scientists who want to go and catalog and eat everything they find, and play with cartography, all that kind of different stuff.
Train ants to sort nuts and screws in the jungle.
Exactly.
That sounds like a great time.
That's a deep cut, Simpsons.
They would also have a photographer, cinematographer, and an artist on board as well. The expedition was endorsed and sponsored by the French Geographical Society and the Museum of National History.
I was going to say earlier, the next road trip I go on, though, I want a cinematographer.
Yeah, I want somebody to record the whole thing.
Yeah.
I want a zoologist who wants to eat everything we encounter.
There you go. I mean, if you can only pick one, yeah.
Yeah.
The expedition had both a cultural and political purpose. It was seen as the way of establishing a strategic land route from French North Africa to the East Coast to Djibouti and Madagascar, which were considered inaccessible possessions. The expedition was to be undertaken in 10 months, from October 1924 to July 1925, going from Algiers to Mombasa, then to Madagascar by sea by way of the Sahara, Niger, and the Sudan. This expedition, like the last one, was led by Georges-Marie Hart, with Louis Audouin Dubray as the second in command of the team of 16. 8 Type B2 Citroën Tigres vehicles would be used for the expedition, with many others used to supply the main group. They left from Colombe-Béchar, a French Foreign Legion fort in northwest Algeria, on the 28th of October 1924, and arrived at Bourem on the Niger on November 9th. They arrived at Niamey, the capital of Niger, in the southwest corner of the country, on November 24th, met by 3,000 horsemen and camel riders. From there, they headed due east, parallel with Nigeria's northern border.
Huh, okay. And that's a fun thing about Niger and these sort of Sahel countries is they're kind of like Canada in that the population is crowded into the southern bit. There are still definitely people living in the northern areas, but as it gets more difficult and deserty, well, Niger is, it's the waters in the south. That's where the people are. That's where you build your cities.
Makes sense. On the way to Lake Chad, in the southwest corner of Chad, bordering on Cameroon, they had to fight the wilderness. There was no path to follow, so they were forced to create one by hand with machetes, cleaving their way through solid walls of grass as tall as the men, with herds of elephants hanging about.
That's incredible. What a scene.
Mhm.
Elephants are like, the fuck are you doing?
This is my
But, you know, they're
home.
curious.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
they're just probably just hanging out going, okay, we'll just watch. This is kind of fun.
They reached the lake on December 18th, then went south to Fort Lame, arriving on December 24th, where they were greeted by the entire European community. Fort Lame, called N'Djamena since 1973, is the capital city of Chad. I knew I was going to screw that one up.
I'd say
That's
that,
all right. You can superimpose you can edit in the correct pronunciation.
Yeah,
N'Djamena. Yeah.
N'Djamena.
N'Djamena. We got it.
Yep.
If you're from Chad, please write in, contact@thewonderkamer.ca.
Yep.
And then correct us on the pronunciation of your capital. And also let us know how it's going in Chad. I hear it's not particularly fun right now.
We look forward to hearing from you. They rested at Fort Lame until the 3rd of January 1925. They celebrated Christmas and rang in the New Year, wrote reports, shot film and wild game, and prepared their cars for the next stage of the adventure, the most difficult and dangerous one. On January 11th, they camped on the border of the Sudan and the Belgian Congo, then went southwards through the jungle. The first 400 miles, or 650 kilometers, were easy because they could follow a track cleared by the Belgians. But after that, the going was incredibly slow. They reached Stanleyville, now Kisangani, named for explorer Henry Morton Stanley, on March 12th. If I can promote another podcast for a second, Behind the Bastards has an excellent 2-part series on Henry Morton Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest checking that out sometime.
Absolutely.
All right.
Having covered 5,600 miles, or 9,000 kilometers, in a little under 5 months, they rested for 11 days in Stanleyville. After that, they would take a northerly detour to Kampala at the head of Lake Victoria in the British colonial territory of Uganda. Yakovlev, the expedition's artist, sketched the chief of a friendly
vagina.
tribe.
Sorry, does that sound like you said?
The chief vagina. I was going to say the chief giant. Or friendly giant.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Sketch the friendly giant.
Okay.
Sketch
That's
the chief of the... I did it again. Sketched the chief of a friendly tribe and was embarrassed to be given the chief's daughter as a gift. Hart came to the rescue, explaining the lack of women on the trip was penance imposed by their headman, André Citroën.
I love that kind of thing.
I mean-
Just that, like, difficulty in cultural exchange and then being able to frame the rejection in a way that isn't horribly insulting. I mean, like, sorry, nope, it's a rule, it's taboo, whatever you'll take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's good of them.
From here, as originally planned, the group was split into 4 2-car groups. Each group would take a different route to the Indian Ocean, then reunite in Madagascar. The Audouin Dubray group, Group 1, went to Mombasa via Nairobi, skirting Mount Kilimanjaro. Between Nairobi and Mombasa, it is noted, there is a railway line, but the journey by automobile has never been attempted. After that,
So-
200... Go ahead.
I'm going to interject briefly. I ran a role-playing game because Tracy had been looking into the André Citroën stuff a couple years ago, in fact, where the group was doing like pulp Cthulhu adventure stuff based out of Mombasa and had to get to Nairobi, and they took a Congress up to Nairobi rather than taking the rail track
Oh, no way.
around this time. Like
Huh.
it was in the 1920s.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I had no
Nice.
idea that this sort of actually happened, just in reverse.
Yeah.
Huh.
After that, 250 miles or 400 kilometers of unexplored route to Tanga on the Indian Ocean. Commandant Beddenburg and his group headed for Dar es Salaam, crossing Lake Victoria by boat to Tabora. There is a railway connecting Tabora to Dar es Salaam, but again, there is not an automobile route. Routes traced formerly by the Germans had been abandoned. Group 3 was to go to Beira, Mozambique. They would take the same route as Group 2 as far as Tabora. Then they would descend as far as Lake Nyassa and skirt around the lake to Blantyre. Their information said the going would be difficult due to numerous rivers without bridges or ferries. As regards to crossing Nyasaland, great difficulties may render its realization impossible.
That is
So why would they do?
Go on.
Oh, they divide it into 4 to see like the best route, or is it a deliberate like race situation?
I don't know. The book never explains why they broke into 4.
More passive exploration, perhaps.
I think it might have been about exploration.
I think so too.
Let's all go, and then understanding these cars are invincible, we'll find the route that hurts the least, particularly if it is this really difficult country, like countryside, which is like shot through with rivers. And when I first heard about this, my brain went, well, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And when they start heading east across the Sahel, the sub-Saharan area, I'm like, why would they do that? Oh, yeah. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, unless that straight line goes through the Congo.
Yeah. Territory is very treacherous there.
It's
a
just
lot of people who probably don't want you there.
It's just very, very...
Congo is...
It's just very, very dense rainforest, ignoring anything political at that point. People might have been lovely or fine. I don't know at this point in time, but the terrain is just impossible.
Yeah. Group 4 would go south in the direction of Lake Tanganyika and cross it from Kigoma to Albertville to reach the region of Katanga, where it seems there are road possibilities. The plan was then to head to Cape Town and then on to Durban, where they would take a boat to Madagascar in early August.
Hopefully, by the time they get there, they don't have an out-of-gas car.
But
I had to say it once. I am.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pretty good.
Quote, our information regarding the communications in Rhodesia is not reassuring, but farther to the south, the situation gradually improves and becomes very good in Cape Colony, end quote. The greatest difficulty, they decided, was to be the length of their route at 3,100 miles or 5,000 kilometers. When Group 3 reached Uganda, they entered through Butiabwa. In The Black Journey, the English translation of Hart and Audouin Dubray's book on the expedition, they described what was then called British East Africa as being more British than African, despite the presence of numerous natives. They talk about how most of the Ugandans speak Kiswahili, while the English colonists speak, of course, English, and they do not like to hear the natives speaking the same language as them. They point out that in the French colonies, instead of putting up these barriers, they try to break them down. How positively humanitarian.
The different character of each colonial European state is really interesting because the French were probably the least directly awful. And by that, I mean they were awful. I certainly know about some horrific stuff they did in Algeria, let alone other colonial holdings. But when you compare that to the Spanish, who just murdered everybody,
or the Belgians.
Yeah. And I was about to say, and the Belgians, of course, have
British.
The ultimate crown. And the British have, again, endless human horrors to their name under the British Empire. And in all sense of proportionality, you'd still probably put them differently on a tier list than you would Belgium and Spain. And so it's interesting because the sense of that, no, it's fine if they speak our language. It makes life easier.
Yeah, the idea of being offended that they're trying to speak your language, just, I don't get that.
Well, it's also it's an odd, like, part of the entire British thing is this very patrimonial, we are the gentlemanly caretakers of the world, and how they've always taken great delight in kidnapping people and then making them act like a gentleman, right? Like, they've done that forever.
Yeah.
So the notion that there's this offense that the locals trying to speak English is, I don't know. We'll ask Rudyard Kipling what he thinks.
No.
All right, we can't. He's dead because he was a racist, and that's what happens.
Do you know every single racist in history has died? No, that's not what I'm going to say. No, that's not what I meant.
Has died or will die. Every single racist in history has died. Yeah, that's like, there's none left.
You know, every racist eventually will die. I wish there was none left. I was just wishful thinking.
Did you know that so-and-so's a racist in power? It's like, no, all the racists are dead. Jen told me.
Exactly. I was going to say, no. Racism is bad for you because every racist will die eventually.
Racism is a terminal condition. We don't even have to do anything. Life will just take care of itself. It's just cosmic karma.
We're so far from all the racists being dead. It's actually sad. But anyway.
The most dangerous stage was between Kampala and Blantyre, where it could take an hour to go half a mile. They had to deal with torrential rain, thick forest, and steering by compass. The going was incredibly slow. Group 4 moved on to a place called Hoima, due south of where they entered the country. It is here they met the king of Buganda, a man named Tito Weinel, for 5 o'clock tea. The following day, they arrived at the Court of Justice. The book goes on to describe what they see, talking of judges who bow at the portrait of the English royal family when they enter the courtroom. There are black bureaucrats going about their work, referring to the people and the location as the paraphernalia of progress.
Lovely.
Ugh.
The text then goes on to say, but all this civilization is possibly not very deep. It would be abnormal if it were so. How in a few decades could the black race reach the development which has required centuries of effort on the part of the white race to attain? The remarkable faculty for imitation possessed by the African races is deceptive, and imitation does not necessarily mean assimilation.
Ugh.
Ugh.
What
Yeah.
a gross quote. Jesus.
Yeah, the book has a surprising number of quotes like that.
Mhm.
When was the book written?
1926.
There you go. Nice to use sources that were contemporaneous. However, there's going to be some gems of just pure, like, uncut 1920s racism.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, look at the UK, like, right now. They still have
mean-
that attitude
Of course they do.
to people. They do. It's very, and I'm not just shit just on the UK, but they got some issues to deal with. I mean, we all do, obviously.
I was about
but
to say,
you can't really single.
look at Canada. Genuinely, it's, you want to visit the third world. Well, welcome home. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
They recounted an anecdote where a local man went to a missionary and asked to be baptized. The man had 3 wives, and the missionary told him this was incompatible with the dignity of a Christian, that he could only have 1 wife. Thinking hard, the man returned to his village. A few days later, he returned. "You can baptize me now," he told the missionary, "for I only have 1 wife now. I have killed thee 2 others.
oh my God.
I had a feeling, and I was like,
The moment you started the story, just the story, I mean, that sentence, I was like, oh no, where is this going? Oh.
Nowhere good, Dave. Nowhere good.
Nope. Just like Jesus would have wanted.
The final 435 miles, or 700 kilometers, was through open country from Blantyre to Beera, which should have been easy. Alas, it was not. They had to cross the Dabo, a vast, soggy plain thickly carpeted with grass, where the sun beat down like a golden sledgehammer.
Sun beat down like a golden sledgehammer is some beautiful language there.
Yeah.
That's great. As somebody who's extremely heat sensitive, I'm like, I don't even like when it's like 25. I'm like, it's too hot.
Yeah, that's when I started.
This is like, sounds like torture to me.
Yep. Groups 2 and 3 parted ways at Tabora, and on April 30th, they boarded a train for Dodoma at lunchtime. The 2 Caterpillar cars were placed on a truck and covered with old tarps. A wagon loaded with tins of gasoline separated them from the one they were occupying. At the first major stop, they stationed boys with pails of water near the cars because the engine was throwing off sparks, which formed dangerous falling stars. And the tarps are tinder dry.
Oh, look, make a wish. I wish to not die in a fire.
And this time, aren't tarps just like oiled cloths, like waxed and oiled rags?
I think so.
Not rags, but you know what I mean.
Like canvas.
Probably not.
It's
everything
is just flammable at this point in time. There is nothing made which is inflammable.
Well, didn't you say? Yeah, and I was going to ask about
inflammable is the same as flammable. What a country. Anyways,
that's right. But you're saying I was going to ask about fuel because you said they have like all these. The gasoline is with them in these caravans, yes?
Yeah,
because they have to fuel up.
Yeah,
so they have it right there too.
During dinner in the dining car, everyone could suddenly smell smoke. Upon opening the door of the dining car, they saw the train was enveloped in smoke and fire. The Caterpillar cars were on fire, and there was still some gas left in the reservoirs. Shouting drew no result, so Hart fired a shot from his revolver, which had the desired effect. The train came to a halt. The Golden Scarab was on fire, and the wagon of gasoline tins was next to it. Everything that was not metal was burning. Seats, hood, packages piled up, and the spare rubber tires. There was no water to be had, so the men set about throwing sand on the fire. Hart described the Golden Scarab as nothing more than a blackened skeleton, but one of the mechanics with them gave it a look over, replaced a few wires, established a contact, and the car came back to life. At another stop, Hart got down from the train and had a telegraph sent to Tabora, where luckily they had left spare parts.
What kind of charred-ass, like, Nightmare Before Christmas looking vehicle would that be now?
That would be
like a charred husk, like, crawling through the...
I also love that, like, the mechanics going on here are so, compared to what we have now, simple. Because everything is engineered to an incredible extent. But you could just crack open a burned out husk of a car, throw in a couple of wires, toss in some gas, and she's good.
Yeah.
There you go. He's riding a frame at this point.
Yeah.
But hey, you know.
Yep. On May 3rd, after working for 2 days on the Golden Scarab, it rose from the ashes. It even had fresh new cane seats. And at midday, they started off for Lake Nyassa. The group crossed several rivers, including the Ruaha, which required 30 men to get both vehicles across.
How are they doing that? Like rafts? Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Around the middle of May, they found themselves in a region that experiences rain 8 months of the year, and to no one's surprise, it was raining when they arrived, and it continued to rain until they left several days later.
Mm-hmm.
On May 19th, they received a telegram that Group 2 reached the Indian Ocean on May 13th. On June 2nd, the group arrived in Blantyre, the commercial capital of Nyasaland, which is now Malawi. They were given a warm reception and learned how there had been bets placed against their success. Hart noted in his diary that, quote, "We caused several people to lose their money."
Right, and Lake Nyassa is now Lake Malawi, which is this big, long lake that adjoins several countries, and the disputes over who owns what parts of the lake are fierce.
They also call it different things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Lake Malawi is, I guess, what's generally agreed on.
Like a Canadian or American atlas, if those ever existed anymore, would probably call it Lake Malawi.
Yeah.
Well, in America, it's called Lake of America, so...
Yeah.
Yes. Weird. There's a lot of those around Africa.
Yeah, it just seems like it's just all like, oh, and Africa is called America now.
Yeah.
It's all just America.
The Africa of America.
Yep. While driving on June 6th, a brush fire came into view. Though the grasses around them were dry, the ground was not. Hart notes that this meant they thought they'd be safe, but he was wrong. The fire was fanned by a westerly breeze that came right towards them. Just before reaching them, the wind changed. They were able to find a way through the burning grass with the rubber caterpillar tracks burning and the clothes on their backs singed.
That would smell great, too.
Yeah. When they finally reached Beira, the party set sail for Madagascar on the 20th of June. They arrived 5 days later, 8 months after setting out. Quote, "It is never a matter of indifference when one is approaching the end of a long journey," says Hart in The Black Journey on June 26, 1925. "Now the Grand Isle is more than the end of our efforts. It is the object achieved. And so it is with emotion that we endeavor to make out the outlines of what is to us an unknown land, and the boat draws near to a new shore."
That is wild. Go on, sorry.
Just imagining the relief of this expedition being like, oh, finally, it's done.
Only 3 groups made it to this point. The 4th group was still en route, set to arrive at Tulir to the south. Quote, "Africa is the land of giant trees and fierce passions. Madagascar at first sight appears to us an island of softened nature and slumbering emotions. Their arrival at there's lots of A's and N's in this. Crap.
We'll race ourselves to see who pronounces it right first.
Yeah. Their arrival at Antananarivo. Oh, man. The capital of Madagascar, was met with speeches and receptions and general celebrations.
Antananarivo, yeah.
Antananarivo. See, there's too many A-N's in there.
Antananarivo. There's different ways you can put emphasis on different syllables.
Ah. En route, 90,000 feet of film was taken, along with 8,000 photographs, 300 botanical drawings, 15 books of sketches, samples of over 300 mammals, 800 birds, and 1,500 insects, many of which were unknown to science at the time. A triumph for science, as well as the motor vehicle.
All right.
The final paragraph of the Black Journey says this about the future. Quote, "Our white cars have only been the advance guard. The faithful worshippers of the Bula Matari were not wrong in believing them to be the heralds of a new era. The old world is suffocating. In its conquest of space, it is annihilating distance, and also the charm of the unknown." Sorry.
That's a hell of a line.
I can see that. And I immediately want to joke, suffocating in leaded gasoline fumes.
Yeah.
Because that is where the future did.
Was leaded gasoline invented at that point?
I believe. I'm not. No, I don't think so. I think
either.
the leaded gasoline came on a bit later, but
I want to say the 50s.
I understand the freedom that the motor vehicle does entail. It's just all the unintended consequences.
This is why we need to have cities where people don't have to drive.
Mm-hmm.
So you can leave the driving to the people that really want to do it, and there's not that many.
It's not the default way to get around in all these different situations.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got just the people that really want to drive that are driving, and everyone else has glorious public transit to rely upon. And good public transit.
Not in Canada. I mean, depends where you are, but for the most part, not in Canada. If you're not in a big city.
It's so much better than in the States where giant cities are actively hostile to public transit. And all of it's much worse than Europe, Japan, China. Yeah. We want to make an environmentally friendly world. We need big trains.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I remember, over 10 years ago, going to New Orleans and being like, wait, there's no bus from the airport downtown? No, take a taxi. Yep. That's what everyone does. Take a cab, drive. Yep. Nothing.
On the expedition's return to Paris, they were greeted as heroes. There were a series of gala receptions and celebratory banquets attended by the French president and prime minister, plus senior military and government officials. The progress of the Central African expedition was charted almost daily by reports from the international press. There was enormous public interest both at home and abroad.
Mm-hmm.
From John Reynolds, quote, "To satisfy this curiosity in the mysteries of the Dark Continent, a fascination in the life of the noble savage and all things primitive was in vogue among the sophisticated people at the time. A lavish exhibition of the expedition's vehicles and trophies was mounted at the Louvre."
It's like every quote, you gotta be like,
every quote is eye-rollingly racist.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The expedition cost more than £100,000 to stage. I'm not sure if that's at the time or if that was more recently, but the publicity and prestige generated was worth so much more. The expedition was considered highly profitable, more so than completing in Grand Prix races and motorsport events. Unlike Grand Prix, which only showcased how fast a car could go, the expedition showed how these vehicles stacked up against difficult terrain and how reliable they were, which was undoubtedly more useful information for the military and others that might consider purchasing such a vehicle.
Right. In terms of an advertising campaign, you can say, hey, we just did something everyone thought was impossible and did it shockingly well. So little went wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from, the fire, but I thought there'd be piles of corpses behind them or something like that. No.
No.
I was really expecting more mayhem.
Yeah, I was very Team Corpse there.
Yeah, I know.
So in the next episode, we'll talk about the third and fourth Citroën expeditions to Asia and North America.
I am fascinated already. Thank you so much, Tracy. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you got to start telling the story because I know you had it with you for a while, and this was very fun.
Yeah, I've been waiting for the right moment to write about this.
Mm-hmm.
Now the perfect time has come. No, and it's so fascinating, and I'm looking forward to hearing what happens. And to be honest, I'm a bit disappointed that there wasn't more madness and mayhem.
Yeah, right.
It's a fascinating story, and it's very, very impressive and a very cool story. I was just like, hopefully, but I'm a ghoul. So
you've just listened to too many dollops about Australians getting murdered in the outback.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm not used to expeditions actually going smoothly and well, and
yeah, this succeeded remarkably easily.
Yeah. Fascinating. Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So that was the Wonderkamer for today. Tracy will be back with part 2 next time. Do we want to leave our audience with some contact information? Maybe some sources? I believe you left those already.
The sources you can find in the show notes. If you're
right.
interested in finding us on social media, we're on Blue Sky at thewonderkamer.ca. Does anybody else have any other online places they want to share?
Yes, we will have an Instagram account created after this episode is recorded.
Okay.
So it'll be.
By the time you hear this, hopefully it's live.
Look up the Wonderkamer. There's not going to be a lot of us. It's a Dutch word. It's not going to show up all over the place in English language. Just Google the Wonderkamer. You know, have some faith in yourself for the love of God.
And you can
That's right. You can find us. And it's Wonder, Kamer, just the one M, Wonderkamer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great talking to you guys, Dave and Tracy. I'm very excited to hear how our story concludes.
And you can always reach us at contact@thewonderkamer.ca.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Wonderkamer. Find us under The Wonderkamer on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram.